I am so excited. I am so excited about this video. This book that I'm reading is currently changing my life. And it has inspired me to create this video alongside what I'm hoping to be a Goddess Awakening book club. Because I believe every woman should read this book. And there are many more books that I have queued up that I am interested in reading and that I'm sure I would want to share. The book that I'm talking about today is called The Great Cosmic Mother. It has been changing my life, and I'm only about 10% of the way through it. I have gotten up to chapter 5. It's a very dense book. It has over 1,000 pages, and it is dense in the sense that I regard it as an academic book, meaning there's a lot of citations, there's a lot of references to other authors, other books. It's a book that's seeped in history and anthropology and archaeology, anthropology, and spirituality, which I love. So The Great Cosmic Mother is a book that really traces our history back to its matriarchal roots. It affirms and confirms what I know to be true and what it has been hidden from modern society, which is that women were and still are the cultural innovators. We are the reason why society has advanced thus far. Us living in this patriarchal society is unnatural. There has been so many revelations, which I am going to share with you all, but the biggest one is understanding that the first god that was ever worshipped and prayed was a female woman. Like we already knew this. But to have it written in a book, have it written in page with evidence, with facts, with references, citations, it's fulfilling in a way that I couldn't have even imagined. It's so validating. I started to learn about matriarchies and gynarchy, which is the idea of women leading, through my work in femdom. And I'm so grateful that I have been led to this path, because this is the path I am most passionate about. There is a lot of creators that I listen to and that are out in the world that are enhancing or pushing forth the woman as goddess perspective and narrative, and there are a lot of women who are leading other women to a life of wealth and a life of awareness and a life of spiritual connection, because there is a shift happening where we are looking at the patriarchy like, what the actual fuck, and realizing that the standards and morals that have been attached to patriarchy have been double standards, have been detrimental, have been oppressive, have condoned violence and rape, and just the enhancement of a very specific set of individuals. And we're fucking tired of it. And not only are we tired of it, not only have we started to acknowledge the ramifications from an emotional and mental health perspective, but there's actual evidence, there's actual facts. This is beyond just a woman's intuition, right? Which is super powerful. But when things are related to a woman's intuition or just an inner knowing, it can easily be taken for that's not truth. And here we have a work of art, a book that really asserts our power. I have a degree in sociology, so interest in cultural issues has always been present for me, but I have never honed into a topic that resonates with me so deeply. When I graduated with a degree, I didn't have any intentions of using it. I only got the degree because I was interested in the classes that I needed to take in order to fulfill that degree. I wasn't interested in any other classes. But now I feel like I am in a space where I want to deep dive into this work, deep dive into matriarchies and matrifocal societies and understand it fully so that it can be implemented, starting with me and the communities that I want to create and the communities that you get to create. Upon understanding that this system is natural for us and it's very much possible. I believe it, I see it for us. It's become part of my life mission to be a part of this larger movement that transitions us from this patriarchal form to where we belong as matriarchal or matrifocal community. Most people think that matriarchy is the opposite of a patriarchy, so really just like the same things would happen, but women would be in charge, and that is not the case. Actually, what I've been learning from the book is that matrifocal societies operated more like the US and capitalistic societies have condemned communism for a very long time. So I don't even know if I can say this word, but fuck it, I'm gonna say it. Matrifocal societies operate, from my understanding, more like a communist structure because of the sharing that happens, because of the bartering that happens, because everyone's health and wellness and safety is prioritized, but starting with the mother and starting with the women. Women and men are important and they provide balance, and women lead as we so naturally do. And I think it's important to emphasize this because when we look at our society today, I mean, I'm someone who grew up knowing a ton of single mothers. My mother was a single mother, and as I was raised, it was the norm for women to be single mothers. And so often am I hearing stories of like women who had to leave their marriages and leave their partners, the father of their kids. It was no longer healthy, it was toxic, or they were no longer pulling their weight, etc., etc. And women then have to go and figure it out without the presence of a man. And that is just a larger example of women being natural leaders, when without a man we can still survive and thrive. And that's not to say that men aren't important, because they are, but it's just testament that we're already doing it. What they say that we can't do, we all have already been doing it. And to continue to subscribe to these notions and these religions that assert our subservience to men has never made sense to me, and now absolutely does not fucking make sense to me. And I want women to awaken into their goddess form, to awaken out of this consciousness of what they've always known. And it's hard and it's scary, and at the same time it's liberating, and there's freedom and peace on the other side. And you know, we get to create a new standard of how men treat us when we step into our roles as leaders. And that's ultimately what I want for us as women: to be free, to be wealthy, to be in control and fulfilled in the dynamics that they create in their lives with, you know, family, friends, men, etc. Let me share with y'all some insights that I've gotten from this book, and I hope that it resonates with you so much so that you go and buy the book. Every few chapters I will continue with these videos of just talking about what I've been learning and my I guess just my summary and my evaluation, my analysis, my, you know, just what has come up for me in reading this book. When you get the book and you read alongside me, you can also offer your input, because I would love to hear it. If you have read this book before, Or if there are other books similar to this that you recommend, please list it in the comments. If there's books that you think that I should read or that we should read as a collective, women should read as a collective, please list them down below. If you have any comments and questions and insights on anything that you hear today in this video, please leave a comment. I want us to connect in as many ways as possible. I've been reading the book on my phone, but eventually I am going to get the physical book because that's how meaningful this book is to me. I think it's something that should definitely be added to my growing library. But speaking of libraries, I was able to start reading it on this app called Libby. I believe that most public libraries are connected to it. It's an app, so if you have a library card, you can reserve books via the Libby app. It could be the digital ebook that you read through, or you can get the audio book. I don't know if this book was offered as an audio book, but I was reading it as an ebook, and it helped me to easily highlight the most important parts, the parts that I'm going to be reading out loud to you all today. It's free, so take advantage of that if you have a library card and are interested in the book. Otherwise, you can buy it on Amazon, and I believe the TikTok shop, if you follow me on TikTok, I listed the book in my TikTok shop, even though I don't have the physical copy, but I just wanted it there for people who wanted to read it and prefer the physical copy. Yeah, so let's get into it.
To y'all things I've highlighted thus far. Listen to this. Female spirit, the goddess in us, is not fragile or new, not an invention of privileged women or an escapist new age elite. We are tough and ancient, tried by a million years of ice and fire. Knowledge of our truly revolutionary past can resolve our present dilemmas. Nothing is easy. Work we thought done must be redone. Generations of richly cynical young people need our cronish views and mythic tools. Communal action is a large wheel. Within it, each personal will must passionately spin to face hardship, anonymous conditions, to forego apparent success/access, to defiantly redefine and redo the real work. Sacred, practical retrieval of the female/earth. A transfusion of our spiritual reality into the body politic/economic is not easy. The great mother in her many aspects, maiden, raging warrior, benevolent mother, death-dealing and all-wise crone, is now powerfully re-emerging and rising again in human consciousness as we approach the 21st century. Based in matricide, the death of all nature, and the utter exploitation of women, Western culture has now run itself into the ground, and there is no other way but to return to the mother who gives us life. In the Western world, the assault on women's last remnants of autonomous powers, the destruction of our ancient knowledge of healing, of magical technology that enhanced our psychic powers, as well as the fertility of the land, came about with the witch hunts that lasted more than 300 years. Women worldwide are and always were the guardians of the living earth, as are all the surviving natal, tribal, shamanistic peoples who still commune with the spirits. Goddess is injured wherever there is injustice, cruelty, poverty, and pollution. The great cosmic mother is a central part of this re-emergence of the mother and of another and far more ancient consciousness/intelligence. We are pioneers in this great movement, along with many other writers, artists, poets, and thinkers that will have to succeed or we will die. There is a generalized traditional fear of female sexuality. Further, there is discomfort with the similarity with the common origin of the female clitoris and the male eggplant. Women are used to hearing the clitoris described as an underdeveloped eggplant. Men are not used to thinking of their eggplant as an overdeveloped clitoris. Finally, and most seriously, there is a profound psychological and institutional reluctance to face the repercussions of the fact that the female clitoris is the only organ in the human body whose purpose is exclusively that of erotic stimulation and release. It's like reading this stuff makes me feel so many things. Like I'm angry, but I'm also excited because I feel like I'm learning like the truth. But I'm angry that I'm almost 30 years old now learning the truth, and that so many people, men and women alike, are ignorant to this information just because of social conditioning. That's my 2 cents. Okay, back to the reading. What does this mean? It means that for the human female alone among all Earth's life forms, sexuality and reproduction are not inseparable. It is the male eggplant, carrier of both semen and sexual response, that is simultaneously procreative and erotic. If we wanted to reduce one of the sexes to a purely reproductive function on the basis of its anatomy, we don't, it would be the male sex that qualified for such a reduction, not the female, not the human female. Wow. Known fact that among contemporary and historic hunting and gathering people, as among our remote hunting and gathering ancestors, 75% to 80% of the group's subsistence comes from the woman's food gathering activities. This, despite the known fact that the oldest tools used by contemporary hunters and gatherers and the oldest, most primal tools ever found in ancient sites are women's digging sticks. This, despite worldwide legends that cite women as the first users and domesticators of fire. This, despite the known fact that women were the first potters, the first weavers, the first textile dyers and hide tanners, the first to gather and study medicinal plants, i.e. the first doctors, and on and on. Observing the linguistic interplay between mothers and infants, mothers and children, and among work groups of women, it is easy to speculate on the female contribution to the origin and elaboration of language. That the first time measurements ever made, the first formal calendars were women's lunar markings on painted pebbles and carved sticks is also known. And it is thoroughly known that the only God image ever painted on rock, carved in stone, or sculpted in clay from the upper Paleolithic to the middle Neolithic, and that's roughly 30,000 years, was the image of a human female. Oof, I feel like that was a mic drop. She just snapped. They snapped. And it shows with clarity that the first 30,000 years of Homo sapiens' existence was dominated by a celebration of the female processes, of the mysteries of menstruation, pregnancy, and childbirth, of the analogous abundance of the earth, of the seasonal movement of animals and the cycles of time in the great round of the mother. The Great Horn is as close as we can come to reading the sacred book of our early human ancestors, and it confirms what too many people do not want to know, that the first God was female. The popular image of early human society as being dominated, indeed created, by sexist male hunters and ferocious territorial headbangers just doesn't hold water. If the first humans had depended solely on despotic and aggressive male leaders, or on several males and chronic ritualistic contention for power, human society would never have developed. Human culture could never have been invented. The human presence on earth would never have evolved. The fact is that it was from this first inner circle of women, the campsite, the fireside, the cave, the first hearth, the first circle of birth, that human society evolved. These 10 of thousands of years of human culture were shaped and sustained by communities of creative, sexually, and psychically active women. Women who were inventors, producers, scientists, physicians, lawgivers, visionary shamans, artists. Women who were also the mothers, receivers and transmitters of terrestrial and cosmic energy. Evidence shows that some of the most advanced societies of the ancient world, technologically as well as culturally advanced, were also matrifocal, i.e., woman oriented and led by women. The early Cretans were worshippers of the goddess, and Cretan women were priestesses, judges, doctors, artisans, athletes, business entrepreneurs, cultural leaders at all levels. Traces of matriarchy existed in Egypt down through the later empires and dynasties. In these cultures, as in many others, the family group lived on land that belonged collectively to the mothers. A woman's husband or lover lived with the woman and her kin group. Children, regardless of the father's identity or legal relation, lived with the mother's family group. Ancient Egyptian law clearly designated that all family property, land, and household goods belonged to the woman, and that she, married or unmarried, had total disposition of her own belongings, including herself.